All right, we got a lot going on. Parashat Vayakhel, Parashat Pikudei, Parashat Chodesh. We got 3 Parashiot, 2 Sifrei Torah, but 3 Parashiot nonetheless. This week, coming up, is the week before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, so that's where Parashat Chodesh kicks in. The week that we prepare for the incredible month of Nisan with all the amazing days of Pesach and the days that lead to Pesach and the days that are after Pesach, all special days in, of course, the Jewish calendar. But we start with Parashat Shavua, Parashat Vayakhel. One of the important concepts in Pesukim we find in this week's Parashat, Kol chacham lev bachem yavo v'ya'asu et kol asher tziva Hashem. A person, when it comes to worshiping HaKadosh Baruch Hu, has to be a chacham lev. Has to be very intelligent and savvy in how to worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can't be boxed in. And what do I mean by that? The best way to say it is with the story that happened with a few yeshiva guys that came to the great Stipler. They had a brilliant idea. Now, the Stipler lived in, of course, Bnei Brak. The idea is as follows. Bnei Brak is in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, many of the religious cities, I don't know how many people know this, but the people that have been there ever for Shabbat in a religious city will know that all of a sudden a siren blows about 20 minutes before Shabbat starts. And that means that it's candlelighting time. So in Bnei Brak, in Yerushalayim, in Betar, these places, and it's really, it takes us far, far back. In the times of the Gemara, they obviously didn't have sirens exactly like we have today, but they had shofarot. And there were different times, the Shulchan Aruch actually brings us down, different times on Friday that they would blow the shofar. They would blow in Beit HaMikdash, but when there was no Beit HaMikdash, they would blow it in the cities themselves to connote, like, this is the time that you're supposed to close up shop, this is the time that you should really be ready, this is the final time. There's a lot of interesting details in terms of that. So in Eretz Yisrael, instead of shofar, they have sirens that go, and you could hear it all over Yerushalayim. It's beautiful. It's much amazing. But it's a little bit of, makes you a little nervous because it's crunch time. Every time you hear the siren, you get a little bit anxious because you're like, oh no, it's almost Shabbat. I got to get ready. I got to take care of everything. But either way, in Bnei Brak, they have 2 sirens, and in Yerushalayim also they have 2 sirens. One is 20 minutes before sunset, which is the time of lighting the candles, and one is 20 minutes before that. And that's to say, like, it's almost time to light the candles. It's time to prepare for the lighting of the candles. Now, it's very nahug, it's very accepted in Eretz Yisrael especially, and even outside of Eretz Yisrael in America, it's accepted that the proper way to accept Shabbat is during candle lighting. Meaning, let's break it down a little bit in halakha. To understand the story, you have to understand the halachot. But Shabbat starts, technically speaking, at sunset. Candle lighting is 20 minutes before sunset. When a person lights candle, when the wife lights candle, when the husband goes to Beit HaKnesset, generally the right thing to do is to accept Shabbat right as that is the time of candle lighting, which is why it's posted on all the calendars. 20 minutes, 18 minutes before sunset is the time that is appropriate to already accept Shabbat. What is called Tosefet Shabbat, adding to the Shabbat. It's a big mitzvah. It's not an obligation 100% to do 20 minutes. Like if a person's running late, a wife is running late, you don't have to scream and yell at her, what are you doing? You can't light candles. It's already past the 18 minutes, past the candle lighting time. No, you say, okay, fine. She still has another few minutes until sunset. All right, so then she'll light a few minutes before sunset. But the right thing to do is accept it during sunset. For men, right when you come to the Beit HaKnesset, the right thing to do is to either in your mind, Ovadia holds is good enough in your mind, but some poskim hold you should actually say the words that I am accepting Shabbat in terms of the positivity. I should say the other way, in terms of the negative things, like not doing melacha, in terms of the don'ts of Shabbat. I'm not going to do any more work. I'm not planning to hold on to my keys anymore. I'm not planning to drive. I'm not planning to turn on lights. Except the negative commands of Shabbat, that means that you did Tosefet Shabbat. And you can still pray Mincha. Some people think, it's a contradiction. I accepted Shabbat. I can't pray Mincha. You only accepted Shabbat in terms of the things that you're not going to do. But the holiness of Shabbat will only kick in after the Mincha. So it's like a half accepting of Shabbat, which is enough. For Tosefet Shabbat, that's enough. Just in terms of the Melacha itself. But you have to accept 100% that you can't do 50% not doing Melacha. Right? So that's what it means to be Mekabeh Shabbat early. Men should do it, women should do it at candle lighting. These yeshiva guys, they were very big, obviously Torah scholars, and also people with a lot of God-fearing capacity. They wanted to do more than just what's basics. They wanted to go above the letter of the law. So they came to the stipler and they said, Kivod Arav, we have an idea, we want your bracha for this idea. What's the idea? The first blowing, the first siren, which is 20 minutes before candlelighting, that's a time where everybody is sort of like already preparing that they're going to need except Shabbat. Why don't we from today, Harav will make an announcement that everyone in Bnei Brak, because we're all religious, we're all very from, Bnei Brak is a very holy city, we're all going to go ahead and on the first siren already accept Shabbat. If Kvod Harav says it, everyone is going to do it. And then it will be such an honor to Shabbat that we accept it even a little bit earlier. There will be even more blessing. The stipler heard this idea and he was very impressed. He said, wow, Shabbat is the source of all blessing. Shabbat is Mikor HaBracha. How beautiful is it to accept Shabbat even 5 minutes early, let alone another 20 minutes early. And if the whole city does it, wow, it's so beautiful. He was impressed. He was proud of them. He said, 1 second though. If you accept Shabbat 20 minutes early, the wives are also going to be accepting Shabbat that early. It's going to put a lot of pressure on them to make sure everything is ready beforehand. And if the wives were coming to me and telling me that they want to accept Shabbat early, we can have a discussion. But if the husbands are the ones coming to me and telling me, I'm nervous, I can't sign on to this, I can't give my bracha, because it's going to put an undue pressure from the wives to make sure that everything is done before. They heard this from the stipler, and they tried to convince him. Said, "No, Arav, it's a big mitzvah." He said, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't know. It's the cheshbon of the women. You can't do it. Okay, so they said the stipler is not okay with it. Let's go to Rav Shach. We wanted to get the bracha of the stipler and Rav Shach. Maybe the Rav Shach is going to have a different take on this. So they presented the same idea to Rav Shach, and almost exactly the same words. Wow, Shabbat, so brilliant, so beautiful. But 1 second, who's going to be accepting this early? Said Rav Shach, the men presumably are going to hear the first siren. They're all going to start going to Beit HaKnesset, and everything is going to be dumped on the wife, and now she's going to have to go ahead and do double the work, and it's already a time that there's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and she's going to be left alone. No, I can't agree to such a thing. Never can I agree to such a thing. And now they heard essentially the same idea, just in a little bit of a different twist. From the two great minds, they didn't even consult with each other. They just both had the same perspective and understanding of how a person has to make sure that his stringencies, that his chumrot, don't end up at the expense of other people. It has to be done with the proper foundation and the proper dat. So they both said, if the women want to come and they want to do it, we're happy to hear. But if the men are the ones asking for this, that's not the right thing to do. And that's a very important concept. Even things that appear to be such big mitzvot, so incredible, but it can't be at the expense of other people. That's something that's very valuable. They both had that same thought. There was a man who was also a very big rabbi. His name is Rav Dan Gertler. Rav Dan Gertler lived in Bnei Brak, and he wanted to sort of do a study on the downtime of Torah. What does it mean? He was trying to figure out which time of the week is the time where people learn the least. Collectively. Like Am Yisrael learns the least. And he did a little bit of an investigation. So Sunday, especially in Israel, is like a regular weekday. Okay, Shabbat, people are learning on Shabbat, Batei Midashot are full. During the week, everybody's kollel, they're all learning all week. And he realized Friday is sort of a downtime, and especially on Friday afternoon. So he decided he's going to come with a chap. He's going to make a kollel, a special kollel for Friday afternoon with a very high compensation. And, for an hour and a half, they'll come, maybe, 2 hours before Shabbat, 3 hours before Shabbat, they'll come. That downtime, we'll take it and we'll maximize it. And he started a sign up, he started everything. People signed up in high numbers. He comes to Rav Steinman, passed away not so long ago, a few years ago, passed away. He comes to Rav Steinman, he says, Harav, I want to show you what of an operation I pulled off. Look at this. He shows him pictures. Batei Midrashot are full. And he says, Kavod Harav, I want you to give your bracha to this endeavor. Rav Steinman looks at him and he says, whoa, just 1 second. 2-3 hours before Shabbat, that's the time that is the busiest for the wives and for the families than all the week. I can't go ahead with this. You have to cancel this. He hears this from the Rav. He was expecting a bracha. So many people sitting and learning. The Rav is telling, or Steinman was telling him to cancel it. He said, Kvod Rav, I don't understand. It's full. The Batei Midrashot are full. There's so many people sitting and learning. People are so interested. Even the wives are interested because there's so much compensation. We're paying them nicely. The wives are sending their husbands. Go learn. We can make another few bucks. It's good for them. It's good for the husbands. I don't understand. The Rav said, B'shum panim ve'ofen. I don't want to hear it. You're canceling this program 100%. But what about all the Torah? And he says to him a very important line. Talmud Torah, learning that comes out of the expense of a person's wife, is not a learning of bracha. No bracha will emerge from that learning. No blessing will emerge from that learning. That's a line that we have to repeat to ourselves. When a person is learning Torah at the expense of his wife, of other people, that learning is not going to have beracha. Now, like with anything, anybody could take anything out of context. And obviously, I'm going to say the context because it's very important for people to know. These are people that are learning every single day during the week. So they're spending days and nights learning. And Rav Steinman was telling them to learn at this time is not what you're supposed to be doing. Unfortunately, there's a reverse reality where people are spending basically no time during the week learning. And then the one time they want to go, sometimes you could have a case. Obviously, we have a lot of nashim tzadkaniyot. We have such holy women. But there is such a thing, there's such a reality that a wife will say, that 1 hour is like, no, in that hour. Like, no, what do you mean? That's coming out of my expense. That's obviously a very different picture because Torah is life, is breathing. It's the basic thing that you need to do. And that's why consultation with Rabbanim is so important. But when a person is able to be Kovei Itim every day, and he specifically is signing up for a kollel, that's exactly the time where he's needed at home, that learning is not going to have beracha. And it's important to realize that just because you see a lot of people, just because you see people coming to the Beit Midrashot, and it's full and people are excited, it doesn't mean that they're doing the right thing. Because it's not the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that. And that's a very important hashkafa. It's something as beautiful and as great as Torah also has to be done at the right time. And when it's a time to help, then it's a time to help. And that's what you're supposed to be doing. And that is your mitzvah to do. And this is important whether we're talking about somebody who's 50 years old, whether somebody who's 20 years old, just got married, somebody who is 10 years old. Everybody has to go ahead and pitch in. And once everything is taken care of, b'chavod, this is a great time to sit and learn and do it. But let's first take care of what needs to be taken care of. In the house, you see that you're leaving. It's very nice of you to come to the Beit HaKnesset 40 minutes before everybody else. That's amazing. But if the whole house is a mess and somebody else has to do that responsibility, it's a much bigger mitzvah for you to stay home and go and clean up what needs to be cleaned up. It's not your responsibility. It's somebody else's responsibility. Somebody else's clothing. It's somebody else's dirty dishes. Yes, but you are part of this house. Be part of it and participate. A father, a mother, a brother, a sister. It doesn't make a difference who. But every person has to contribute because a learning that's at the expense of others is obviously not what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, which means that there's not going to be any blessing from it. Very important, Hashkafat Torah. Similarly, there's a story in the Agadah of Rabbi Shalom Wallace. He has a Agadah of Pesach. A lot of beautiful Agadot out there. As now is the time of year that a lot of them are coming out and there's really nice things. So he said that one time they had an initiative that they started. Again, in one of the major cities, and I said all these initiatives, they happen, it's incredible. They all emerge, first of all, they're for everybody. Nobody's turned down. When you have an initiative, nobody's turned down. Any Jew is invited to it. But it almost always starts with who? The people that are the religious people. It's an amazing thing. They have books in Eretz Yisrael, books of gemachs, like a phone book of this gemach, that gemach, medicine gemach, Tylenol gemach. There's even a gemach, somebody invented a brilliant idea where a lot of people, they have extremely expensive medicines. that are like, sometimes a pill is $10,000, like really expensive things. And doctor prescribes it, and the person had to buy it or whatever else, and they didn't have to finish it because they got better. So there's like maybe a leftover, 2-3 pills left over. There's a gemach in Eretz Yisrael for those extra pills. They ended up turning it into a whole industry, saved people tons and tons of money. Just from, instead of throwing it out, you send it into this gemach, and everybody's aware of that. So now they built up a whole repertoire of expensive different types of medicines that this person was prescribed. He needs it, they would send it to him. Just like, who thinks like that? Only people that are shomer Torah mitzvot think in that capacity. It's a beautiful thing to see, and that is going on every single moment in Eretz Yisrael, which is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed. This incredible nation, what are we supposed to be doing in this world? What's our job? Is to be a light to the rest of Am Yisrael, to the rest of the nations of the world, in how to innovate when it comes to kindness. That is the most important responsibility. The problem is that the big innovators in the world are generally either Rishaim or not looking to do good. They're either very evil people, and they're motivated because they want money, they want fame, they want fortune, and those are unfortunately like the biggest motivations that are out there, or they're just pariv, and they're not looking to do good, they're not pursuing to do good. Who are the people that are pursuing to do good? Am Yisrael. Who wants to do good? Who has morality? Who has ethics? Am Yisrael has ethics. And obviously the people that are shomer Torah mitzvot have a much higher ethic, because it's about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's about being selfless. If you have Hashem in your life, it's about working and endeavoring to get higher and higher, about not being about yourself and about others. It's a lifetime mission. And by and large, you see that translates into a reality where it comes to gemachim and doing. And there was one person who thought of an idea that this is, he decided that they were going to go ahead, and there was a lot of poor people in the city that he was in, and he rented out a whole space, an opened area. It was like open, but they put up tents and different things. And he said, we're going to order tons and tons of food, make boxes, everybody's going to come and pick up the boxes. He comes to Rav Steinman. Rav Steinman says, you know what? I don't think that's such a good idea. Because first of all, what's going to happen? You have so many people signed up, there's going to be a huge traffic jam. Everybody's going to be clogging up together. And it's not so, people are going to have to wait in lines to get food. It's embarrassing. Now this family is going to know about that family, and this family knows about that family. How about you turn it around? How about you deliver it to them? And the person said, look, Arav, we could do that. It's just going to be a much bigger expense. It's going to be another 100,000 shekel to offer such a service. We're going to have to turn down many families that we could have otherwise fed. We could open it up to hundreds of more families with that same money. Said Rav Steinman, again, Hashkafat Torah. He says, this is not about a business. If it means one family is going to be less embarrassed, it's worth it to spend that 100,000 shekel for that sensitivity. People are going to lose out. It's not called losing out. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of it. But we have to do the right thing. It's our responsibility to do the right thing. That's the lesson that is one of the powerful lessons in this week's parasha, is that the notion of I have mitzvot, but I can't go, the word in Hebrew, rosh pakir. I can't go my head against the wall and say this is a mitzvah, and whatever happens to anybody else, just get out of my way. I'm doing my mitzvah. That's not Judaism. That's not Torah. That's not mitzvot. And a person always has to consider all the variables when he's doing a mitzvah, and always ask himself a very basic question: what does Hashem want me to do? And once a person puts it in those terms, then it becomes very different, and he sees things from a very different capacity. Now, this parasha also talks about the donations that were given. One of the things that is mentioned is the donations of the bit of the Mishkan. And the language the Torah uses, Kechu me'itechem teruma la'Hashem. Take from yourselves a teruma to Hashem, a donation to Hashem. Now, what does it mean to take from yourself? Hey, take from your wallet. I don't know what does it mean from yourself. So there's 3 explanations given that I saw. Explanation number 1, Kechu me'itechem. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want it to be from you and not from something that was illegal, stolen, robbed, taken by force, Hamas, Gezel, all these things. I want it to be from you. I don't want it to be from other things. I don't want it to be, I had a damage and I marked it up for the insurance. Now I told the insurance, instead of it saying $30,000 of damages, I put in 100,000, and the insurance gave me another 70,000, and now I'm going to donate from that 70,000 and 25,000 to business. He's so generous but it's not him sponsoring the parochet. It's Allstate Insurance, sponsored by Allstate. That's what you'll go ahead and you'll have over there. It's not his. He's going to put Leilu Nishmat. Is it Leilu Nishmat? This is going to give the neshama of the niftar. Is going to give it satisfaction. It's going to be a kitug for the neshama. Look, the parochet in the Beit HaKnesset is from stolen funds. That's not what HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I want it to be me'itechem. I want it to be your money, not somebody else's money, not stolen money, not robbed money, not money that was earned illegally. All these, I'm not interested in that. As it says by the Korban, Adam ki yakriv mikem korban. A person has to donate a sacrifice mikem, from themselves. What does that mean? Velo mina gezer. The Gemara says a korban has to come from the person. It can't be something that he stole from somebody else. It's not a valid korban. He brings it, it's not going to be considered a korban. So same thing, the donation to Mishkan, the donation to Bet HaKnesset, the donation to Kiddusha, there's no such thing as rationalizing and say, I'm going to go ahead and do something that's uncouth, that's inappropriate, but I'll give some of it to the Beit HaKnesset and then it will be okay. That's not how it works. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want that, and the Shul doesn't want that, because ultimately we believe in what the Hafetz Chaim told us. The Hafetz Chaim said that anytime a person is in possession of money that is stolen, that has the ability to not only cause that money to rot, but cause all of his money to rot. So it's, imagine you had an apple that was starting to rot. What you're supposed to do is take the apple and throw it out, because otherwise it's going to cause an effect that all the other apples are going to also rot in a quicker way. So the Chafetz Chaim quotes this from the Gemarot, that's the same exact thing that happens. When money is not earned betachlit haidu properly, then it ends up being that it corrodes all the other money, and there's no bracha in that money. He might look at his bank account and it looks like it's nice sums in there, but it doesn't have the capacity to bring him blessing. It's not going to be with bracha, and it's going to give him only tzarot, only difficulties, lawsuits, tzarot, and Hashem has no shortage of creativity when it comes to necessitating that bringing. So a person has to stay legitimate, and that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. That's the first me'itechim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it from us. But there's a second me'itechim. Hashem says, I want you to give the donation from yourself. Give you an example. Let's say a few people are in the Beit HaKnesset, a few people, all of a sudden, one person went ahead and says, I want to donate 1,000. The other person sees that person and says, what? He's going to donate, he's going to outshine me? No, I'm going to donate 2,000. And then the third person says, I'm going to beat both of them, put together 4,000. That, says the Torah, is, it's still tzedakah, but it's not exactly me'itechim. You didn't do that from yourself. You did that, it was prompted by him. He prompted you to give the tzedakah. I want, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the highest level of tzedakah, me'itechem. Prompt yourself to give the tzedakah. Don't wait for others to go ahead and to do it. Now I'm going to outshine him and outdo him. That's not the full version of me'itechem. So that's another way to understand that a person has to be giving because he wants to give, because he wants to do the right thing. It was actually a story that's very connected to that. It says that one time a person was not terribly wealthy, but he would give a nice amount of money to the yeshiva, or the yeshiva of Volozhin. And they would travel. I believe the story was with Rav Chaim Volozhin, but I can't say for sure. Rav Chaim Volozhin would travel, and they would go ahead and he would give every single year. And one year, he decided that he's not giving. Rav Chaim Volozhin came to him and said, I don't want to give this year. He says, why aren't you giving? He says, no, I kavod harav. With all due respect, he says, I give money because I want to support the Bnei Yeshiva, the people learning in the Yeshiva. But I see that the Rav has a wagon, he has horses, he's giving them hay. How do I know my money is going to the people in the Yeshiva and is not going for the hay and the donkeys that you need to travel? I don't want to give money for donkeys. I want to give money to Bnei Torah. It's an innocent question. He didn't mean it in a, offensive way. So the Rav explained to him, the Mishkan, it says that Bitzalel was given an extreme wisdom. What was the wisdom of Bitzalel? What was so impressive? People were donating. Everyone in Am Yisrael donated. Gold, silver, copper, everything. And everything was needed. You needed gold, you needed silver, and you needed copper. And some of the copper was used for very, very important kelim, utensils, kiyo, nechoshet, kanon nechoshet. right? And some of the things were a little bit less as essential. They were more on the perimeter of things. So Bezalel had the wisdom, and this was an incredible thing. We don't know how to do this today. There's no way to scientifically measure this, but Bezalel was able to spiritually measure. He had the equipment to see the person who gave me the money, how pure were his kavanot? Was he giving it to me because all of his family and friends were giving that amount, and how could I give less than them? Or is he giving it because he really wants to give, or it's begrudging, like how could I not give? He's just giving to be yotzei de chova. And Bezalel was able to separate the funds in such a way that the people that gave with purity, it would go to the most holy of the utensils. It would go to the aron, it would go to the shulchan, it would go to the menorah. And everything that was given on a lesser capacity would be sort of connected. Okay, so it's adanim, it's the vavim, it's the fences, it's the the outside, something that's more ancillary to the main avodat Hashem here. So that's Bezalel was able to do. Said Reb Chaim Volozhin, same thing is true. Bezalel had the gift. Now that we don't have Bezalel, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one to take that responsibility. And when people donate, based on their intent, based on their purity of thought, that's where the money ends up. HaKadosh Baruch Hu arranges that their money goes to support that. So you're right. Says Reb Chaim to this man, he says, I am sure that your thoughts are so pure and so perfect. So you have nothing to worry about. Your money is going to go straight to the Bnei Yeshiva. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu arranges that the people that are giving it for other reasons like honor and kavod and everything else, their money is also going to go, but it's going to go for the hay of the horses. It's going to be a little bit less. It's connected, still holy, still important, but not on the same level. And indeed, it's interesting because I've heard that there are some yeshivot that really do have separate accounts. They have an account when they get money from people that are people learning in yeshivot, give the money, or people that are kovei itim, that sit and learn, that keep Shabbat, they put it in one account, and that account goes directly to pay for the kollel and for the rabbanim and for everybody involved. And then there's like a second account where you have like sort of grants maybe from government, or you have people that are maybe not so religious that gave money and we don't even know, they're keeping Shabbat, they're working on Shabbat, we don't know what their story is. You have people sometimes that are not even Jewish that sometimes give money. You never know who you're giving. There's a second account, and that goes for more janitorial things, for cleaning supplies, for tissues, and for everything else that's ancillary. But that's the way, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu does want there to be a separation. Also, there's Tama Halacha, very fascinating Halacha, that it is prohibited to take tzedakah from non-Jews. You're not supposed to take charity from non-Jews. Interesting, there's certain things you are allowed to take, like not everything is called charity. But whatever is defined as charity, is defined as tzedakah, you're not supposed to take from non-Jews. And there's a reason for that, because it's a major zechut. We see by Nebuchadnezzar that he gave charity to the poor, and he was blessed. And he lived a lot longer as a result of it. And as a result of that, sort of Am Yisrael suffered, because Nebuchadnezzar was controlling Am Yisrael, was reigning over them. So it was not good for him to give tzedakah, to have these merits, since it was actually harming Am Yisrael, but there's nothing that could be done. He did a mitzvah. So he did a mitzvah. As long as he was pursuing that mitzvah, he ended up prolonging the punishment that he really deserved because of all of his terrible crimes that were done. So in a certain sense, it's not an ideal, but if you're not taking it for tzedakah, you're not taking it for Talmud Torah. Is that my phone? Okay, usually that means it's an emergency. 1 second. Sorry. Okay, so we have to say the third reason, right? That's what we're up to? I lost track. Kichum Eitechem, the third reason. What's Kichum Eitechem? Let's get back. Let's calibrate. Kichum Eitechem, reason number 1, review. Don't take from something that was stolen. Reason number 2, Meitechem, don't let others prompt you, and do it from your own before others. Take the initiative to be the one to donate. What's the third Meitechem? The third one is a story with Rav Chaim of Brisk. Rav Chaim of Brisk was collecting for his yeshiva, and he arrived in a city called Minsk. In Minsk, there were two people, in Hebrew the word is Gvirim. Gvirim means really very wealthy people that were very God-fearing as well. They were Yirei Shamayim, kept Torah, kept mitzvot, kept everything. And Reb Chaim would go, he went to one of the wealthy people, and he says to him, the yeshiva is in major financial debt and it needs help. So the wealthy man says, how much debt are we talking about? He told him like a very high number of maybe, what would be the equivalent today, maybe $500,000, let's just say, the equivalent. So he says, you know what? Rav will stay by me. Rav shouldn't go out collecting. It's not in the honor of the Rav. It's fine. I'll take care of it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do research. I'm going to find out. I'm going to reach out and see. So Rav said, okay, fine. Sounds good. How much time do you need? I don't know. Check back in 2 weeks. So sure enough, Reb Chaim was sitting. He was learning. He had a very good amenities. This wealthy man knew how to take care of him. And 2 weeks later, the wealthy man comes to the Rav. He says, Kvod Rav, I got great news. What? You got all the money? Not exactly. I got half the money. Half the money is secured. Okay, Baruch Hashem. I'm going to work on the other half. Okay. The Rav will stay. I'm going to take care of it. So the Rav is waiting. He's waiting. About another 2 weeks passed. And the wealthy man comes over to the Rav again and says, Kvod Rav, I have great news. Yeah, what? All the money has been raised. The Rav could take it and go back. He gives them the 500,000. The Rav thanks him so much. I was able to sit. I was able to learn. You took care of everything. Ashrecha v'tov lach. I bless you and I bless this whole wonderful community. And he went on his way. A few weeks passed. All of a sudden, he was not only a Rosh Yeshiva, he was also the Av Beit Din. He was in charge of the courts, the Jewish court of law. He gets a case. Who was it? This man. He's on one side. He's the defendant. And then the other wealthy man of Minsk was suing him. What's going on? The wealthy man who was suing turns to Reb Chaim and says to him, Kvod Rav, this is totally wrong what he did. Every single year, when the yeshiva of Rabbeinu, of Reb Chaim of Brisk, comes to collect, we always had a deal. We split it 50-50. 50 me, 50 him. We partner up. And this year, I had no idea that even Kvod Rav came. He took him all to himself, and he didn't even tell me, and he paid everything from his own pocket. That's not fair. That's wrong. I'm suing him. I wanted to be half the sponsor of all the debt. If I would have known, I would have participated. And that's what we do every year. Reb Chaim of Brisk turns to the man and he says, is this true? Kvod Rav, it's true. He says, then I want to take you to court. If you had all the money and you gave all the money from yourself, I thought you were collecting from everybody, but you gave it all yourself. Why'd you hold on to me for 4 weeks? I could have been in yeshiva. I'm a busy man. I have shiurim, I have Torah, I have just because you wanted me to be there in your house, you held on to me for 4 weeks? He says, Kvod Rav, no, chas v'shalom, I never would have done such a thing. But does the Rav think it's easy for me to give so much money? I had to fight against the Yetzer Hara. For 2 weeks I had to fight against him until I was able to get the 250,000. And then it took me another 2 weeks to get the other 250,000. I was working my way up. Said Reb Chaim of Brisk, now I understand the pshat in the pasuk. Sometimes a person, when he has to give money, it's like coming from his own blood. It's like a part of the person that he has to give up. And it takes work. It's not so simple. To give real tzedakah, sometimes it takes work. It's easy to give a person who's making good living. He goes ahead and he pulls out 100 here, he pulls out 100 here. Chazaku b'och. But to give real numbers, to give numbers that he's capable of giving, that takes me'itechem. Says the Torah, I don't want you to just give to be yotzei yedei chova. Me'itechem. To work hard, to take 2 weeks until you have to give. That type of a giving is the one that I want. And that's something that's very, very different. Now, there was a special request put in. This part of the shiur is a special request, but it's not really fulfilling that request. A few people, especially from the 47th Street, there was a big desire for me to talk about the Avnei HaChoshen. Now you can imagine why. The Avnei HaChoshen are the stones that the Kohen Gadol would have. They were 12 stones, and each one of them was precious. Now, the Sfarim, there's many Sfarim written about the sigulot of each and every single one of the stones. Reuven's stone, what it's able to do. Shimon's stone, what it's able to do. Levi's stone, what were they and what are their capacities? So they wanted a whole shiur on this. I told them that I'm not doing because that, Rabotai, is a good example of surface Judaism, and that's not within the purview of Kirat Avodat Hashem. As we know, like that's sort of like a catchy idea, but it has nothing to do with Yirat Shamayim and nothing to do with a person bettering himself. They just want to know to be able to sell this stone. I'm able to pitch this idea and that idea, and that's not. I'm not going there. That's not Avodat Hashem. But I didn't want to leave them without anything, so I decided that I'll talk about one of the stones, the stone of Reuven. Says the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat. It's a Gemara that talks about something called an Even Tekuma. Even Tekuma means a stone. Of Tekuma means like rising, like Kum, Milashon Kum. What is this stone? So Gemara is talking there. The context of the Gemara is not just Sigulot. It's not talking mystical. It's talking about carrying on Shabbat in a place where there's no Eruv. What kind of things you're allowed to carry? So obviously something that's done as jewelry, as an ornament, that's already tachshit and that's something else. But we're talking about something that's not being worn as jewelry, like it's not even revealed. It's hidden from other people. So are you allowed to carry a stone that's purpose is not for an ornament? It's just for maybe segula, medicinal purposes. So Gemara says, if the medicine is real, if it's a true thing, it's not just some made up thing, it's a real thing, then a person is allowed to carry it on themselves because it has medicinal benefits. And one of the stones that it talks about is Even Tekuma, this stone, because the Gemara says the stone had powers that it would allow women to not miscarry. The women would not miscarry as a result of the stone, and therefore a woman that bears it is going to be protected from that, and that's why it's allowed to be worn on Shabbat. The major question became, what stone is the Gemara referring to? So there is a Rabbeinu Bechaye that talks about the stones of the Chosh. He's not going on, I want to be clear, he's not going on that Gemara. He's going on the Parashat Shavua. And he says, the first stone is the stone of Reuven. He was one of the 12 tribes, the oldest of the 12 tribes. And his stone was actually what is called Rubin. He calls it Rubin, which is interesting because that's Reuven, Reuben, right? That's how we say. But the stone is also known as Reuben. Today we call it ruby, right? So the stone of Reuven was actually a ruby, and it was red. Odem, pitda, ubareket. What's odem? Odem is red, adom. Odem, pitda, odem is Reuven. And that's the ruby stone. I saw there must be a connection there, aside from the language. But he says that this stone, he says, adom betachlit, מפני זה נקרא מבחר אבן הזו בלשוננו אודם, סגולתו שכל אישה שנושאתו אינה מפלת לעולם נפלים. A woman that wears this stone will not have a miscarriage. That's what the Benu Bechaye says about this stone. He doesn't go, interestingly, he is not quoting the Gemara. He doesn't say this is the Even Tekuma. What he does says, he does say that he saw this in the books of the Chachmei HaTeva. He said he saw this in the scientific books. So interestingly, he's not actually quoting like Jewish sources or Chazal. He's quoting from the books of science, this idea. That's Rabbeinu Bechaye. So the simple understanding is because it's connected, because the Gemara says it's a stone that the person doesn't miscarry. And Rabbeinu Bechaye says it's a stone that you don't miscarry. So it sounds like they're talking about the same stone. However, if you look up the Chidushei Aran on the Gemara, he says, what is this Even Tekuma? He says, calls it Belaz, I'll read the letters to you. Daled Yud Yud Mem Yud Nun. Daled Yud Yud Mem Yud Nun. Diamond. Diamond. He says the word. It's over here. Ubelaz diamond. Now the Ran is not like 50 years ago. This is going back 750 years ago. Right? It's a long time ago. He identifies the Even Tekuma as a diamond stone, and he says this stone would be helpful that a woman shouldn't miscarry. It would protect the womb from miscarriage. So he identifies the Even Tekuma as not a ruby, as a diamond. Interestingly, there's a Raviyah that learns completely different. He says, no, this stone is not a diamond and not a ruby. It's a stone that if you take it and you shake it really hard, you'll be able to hear inside like a sound of a bell, Like there's something inside of there that's dislodged, that's moving. And that's why it's like a sort of an image of a pregnant woman. And therefore, a person who takes that stone is going to be protected. And interestingly, that's what the Mishnah Berurah brings down, le'alacha, that the Even Tikuma is this stone that has a stone inside of it. It's a stone that in its own nature was built in with another stone inside of it. So it resembles like a pregnancy, like a fetus inside a womb of a mother. And that's a third explanation.
Is it real or lab grown?
It was not lab grown back then. Right? This is pretty far back. It's before lab grown was a thing. The Hatam Sofer has his own explanation. He says, no, the Even Tikuma, the Hatam Sofer would actually carry it in his wallet, whatever he had, his pouch. He would carry this Even Tikuma, and he said that it's called, what is called, in his language, Samrak. Samrak, I looked it up, it was an emerald. It's a green diamond. Huh? Samrak it is, right. Yeah, very good. It's an emerald. He calls it a green stone. So he identifies it as an emerald. Rabbeinu Bechaya seems to identify it as a ruby. The Ran learns it's a diamond. And Ravia learns it's this incredible other stone. So we have 4 different explanations for one Gemara. This is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to apply the Gemara halakha le'maaseh. We don't have a consensus for what it actually is. So some people are going to be smart, Alex. They're just going to go now and buy all 4. And they're going to put it all together. I don't know how you're going to find the Raviyas. But not bad. Yeah? For that stone? But which one? Yeah, what's it called? But in English, is there a word for it? It's interesting. We're going to look that one up. Very good. So that's 4 explanations to one thing. Amazing. The other Avnei HaChoshen also have segulot, but again, I don't think that that's where it's at. Judaism is not there. Don't stop looking there for Torah and mitzvot. It's a beautiful thing, but it's not our focus. Our focus is to keep Hashem's will. They got to stay calibrated. That's why I call it surface Judaism, because people love this stuff, but it's entertainment factor. It's not exactly like Yirat Shamayim, working on ourselves. Like we're here for army. We're soldiers in an army. We're not playing games over here. So Rabotai, it's a nice Dvar Torah. It's all obviously true. Everything here is true, but it's not something to put a tremendous focus on. We continue. One second. Yeah, this is one thing I wanted to talk about, yeah. Parashat Pikudei. Parashat Pikudei, one of the things that it mentions, the pasuk there has a grammatical strange thing. That's a number. The number is 1,775. There was an accounting that Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't figure out. What happened to the missing 1,775 of the silver that was used? I can't find it. I don't know what happened to them. So Moshe Rabbeinu the whole Parashat Pikudei is like right before tax season. I think Hashem planned that on purpose because it's all about accounting. Like this one and that was accounted for. Moshe Rabbeinu accounted for everything because he understood that Am Yisrael was already suspicious. They said, how did he become rich? He just became rich. Doesn't make sense. We're giving him gold, silver, and everything, and now all of a sudden he's rich. Did he become rich from the gold and the silver? They didn't know about Pisor Lecha, about last week's parasha that we spoke about, that Moshe Rabbeinu was given from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the special stone. So they just saw Moshe Rabbeinu took all this money, all of a sudden he has money. So they had suspicion. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, look, this is what we got. This is what we used it for. Every single thing that he got was accounted for on multiple layers. Total transparency. And there was no complaints. Everybody understood. The problem was Moshe Rabbeinu did not have the accounting at first of this number, the 1,775. He couldn't figure it out. And Bemet, the commentaries all asked, like, why was he not able to remember that? He's Moshe Rabbeinu. He's brilliant. He's a genius. He's able to learn the whole Torah in 40 days. So why did he struggle remembering this? So some of the explanations say, similar to what we said with Bitzalel, and it's based on a story with the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim, it's an incredible story. So it's a mit le'amita. It's so true, this story. And it's a real story. The Chafetz Chaim one time summoned the milkman of the city. And he brought him before. He says, I want to speak to you. You deliver milk. This is back in the day, right? They used to deliver milks to all the homes. You deliver milk to every person. I tasted your milk, and I could taste that it's not 100% milk. It's diluted with water. You should know it's a very serious prohibition of gezer to sell as 100% milk when it's diluted with water. You have to remove all the water and sell 100% milk from now on. Otherwise, you're violating gezer. The milkman was God-fearing. He was a tzaddik. He heard from the Chavetz Chaim. He said, Kvod Harav, 100%. I accept upon myself. I didn't realize that was asul to do. I thought that that's what you're supposed to do in business practice. I accept upon myself there will not be water anymore in the milk. Kamuvan, of course, he didn't jack up the price, right? He didn't go ahead and say, okay, now I'm going to charge him more. He kept the price the same, and he took out the water. Okay, good. Few weeks passed. The milkman comes back to the Chafetz Chaim. Kavod Harav, I have an issue. What's the issue? He said, Harav, I did everything that Harav said. I took out all the water, 100% milk. I gave it out for a few weeks, and I don't understand. People are complaining. People are telling me, your new recipe, we don't know what you did with the milk. You changed it. We like the old way better. It's to go back to the old way. They don't want this milk. Kvod Harav, what do I do? There's complaints. Harav said I was stealing from them, but they're complaining that they want it back to the old way. Chafetz Chaim says, how could it be? This is the real milk. How could it be that people enjoy the watered down milk more than the real milk, more than the amiti, the genuine milk? He says there's only one way this could be true. Only people that themselves have theft in their hands, their own pockets are full of gezel, are full of lies, are full of misleading other people. So once a person has already tasted the flavor of gezel, of theft and of lies and of that kind of a deceit, so he's not able to taste the real thing. The real taste is taken away from him, and they can't enjoy it. People that are involved in things, this is one of the things about technology today. So much, why do Rabbanim speak so much about against like all of the social media and the videos that they put out, the YouTubes that are out there? We're very against it. You know, sometimes people learn like the craziest things. They say, oh, the rabbi shiurim is on YouTube. That, we don't spread our shiurim. Has anybody ever seen a link for one of my shiurim? I've never sent a link for one of my shiurim. I don't want anybody to send a link for one of the shiurim. Why? Because I don't encourage people to go on. That's for people that are already there. At least let them listen to shiur Torah. But to go on these things is terrible. It corrodes the person. It's a terrible violation of everything. There's so many inappropriate things there. But what? People get used to these entertainments and get used to social media and get used to being lied to, deceit, conceit, every single negative thing. And then when they get to the real deal, they get to Torah, they get to mitzvot, they want to open up a chumash and see what does the Parashat tell us. How long do they last? Maybe 2 minutes, and then they fall asleep. Oh, I can't focus on this. Why? Because they've already pumped themselves up with all this nonsense. They're pumped up with nonsense. They're pumped up with the Netflix and the YouTubes and everything else that exists that I don't even know about. And all these other things. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh wait, I don't like this Torah. I need something exciting. I need something interesting. I need to go ahead and it needs to be like a movie. Not only people, today it's like there's a whole group of people that only if it's a movie they can watch it. Like make Daf Gimel of Masechet Ktuvot, make it into a movie, people will start watching it. Unless you do that, it's hard for people to focus and to concentrate. It's very sad. But why does that happen? Because you can't taste the real deal. You have all this fake stuff all around you, all of a sudden, but this is the real. Okay, I can't enjoy it. I don't know what to do. So said the Chafetz Chaim, what do you tell the milkman? They're all enjoying the diluted milk. They all want that. He said, if that's what they're enjoying, then that's what they need. He went out and he said, so you could go ahead and give it to them. Give them diluted milk. That's what they want. But that's a very sad reality. Like we sort of have to tap into that a person has to purify himself, get himself out. All of a sudden, he starts to enjoy things more. He's living a life free of anxiety, free of depression. Look at the world. The world is crazy. It's a crazy world. Well, it's directly linked. Rabotai, it's so directly linked. It's sad that people don't realize this, but it's 100%. When a person is super involved in technology, all of a sudden his enjoyment of life, his simchat chayim, his satisfaction in the people around him, his relationships, they all go down. And then if it's really bad, then it gets to a point of anxiety. If it's even worse, it gets to depression. And chas v'shalom. But it's already gotten to the point where some people even have suicidal thoughts, which is very sad. You say, people objectively speaking, on paper, they have great lives. Sometimes married, sometimes very wealthy, sometimes come from a lap of luxury. They have nice homes, nice cars. You say, where is this? What is this happening around? What's going on? And the answer is too much of this. Too much of the watered down, diluted. It has an effect on the person. They need real. They need to taste some of the real. Ta'amuru kitov, as the Chafetz Chaim said. And through that, to Bezat Shem be zocheh, to much bracha ve'atzlacha. All that we're interested, all the Torah is interested, all Shem is interested, is to do good for people, is to make people happy. It's not to be chas v'shalom restrictive. It's to go ahead and to bring people to real enjoyment. And you see children that grow up without cell phones. As an example, like we did, some of us, when we were, the 40 and 50-year-olds that grew up without cell phones. How enjoyable were things? How much great. You see a generation today, they have such exposure, it's difficult for them to enjoy anything. It's like the sensitivity, the dullness of the sensitivity. They can't enjoy a good conversation. They can't enjoy a good relationship. They can't even enjoy a good dinner. It's like it's very sad that what we see in the world. And the answer is to fight a positive goal, to find ourselves with Torah and with mitzvot and with developing, helping others. When a person lives that kind of a lifestyle, all of a sudden their senses are back to life and they're able to enjoy and they're able to be satisfied and they're able to live great lives and really be happy with the small things, the same things that everybody experiences, but they can glean so much enjoyment as a result of it. And that really is the ultimate bracha that a person has. And then they have a Shabbat that looks like a Shabbat. They say that the Chafetz Chaim would say it was so foolish of people that are working all week and on Shabbat they just either sleep or waste away their whole time. He says, imagine to yourself a person who was building an apartment complex and he had to spend billions of dollars to invest in permits and buildings and buying the property. He had to borrow money from everybody. He invested so much money. Imagine he builds the complex, right? It's fully finished, fully done. He says, nobody is allowed to live in here. No one's going to live here. He's a foolish guy. Why? You spend so much. You put so much on light. You're not going to go ahead and reap the benefit. Says the Chafetz Chaim. A guy works all week. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, okay, great. He's working all week. That's wonderful. I'm going to give him a tremendous bracha for that work. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give him and say it's all mitzvot. Every single day he was on the job, he's doing mitzvot. But so long as when he finishes, it's Friday, it's Shabbat, you had to work during the week. Now it's Shabbat. If you sit and learn on Shabbat, if you run to the learning, Hashem says that whole week, all of that investment is worth it. I'm going to reward him for that too. If he's going to go ahead and now he's going to say, no, I'm turning off on Shabbat, I can't do anything. So what did you work the whole week? The whole investment goes down the trash because he's not doing anything. So I was going to justify, I was going to say, great, wonderful, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But where's the Shabbat? Where's the Kiddushat Shabbat? A person has to be smart. He can go ahead and he can gain so much just by going and sitting and learning. He says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, see, not only is Shabbat great, the whole week is great. No, now he doesn't get that. Why? Because he's not interested in it. So it's an unfortunate reality that people have a hard time enjoying, but Bezrat Hashem, we should be zochet to really taste the real, genuine milk of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and of the Torah Kedosha. Amen ve'amen.